Welcome. Settle in. Take a slow breath and prepare yourself for one of the most quietly revolutionary books ever written. What you are about to hear is not a motivational speech. It is not a collection of positive thinking tips or productivity strategies. What Neville Goddard gives you in these pages is something far more fundamental, far more intimate. He gives you the mechanics of creation itself. He gives you the hidden law by which every experience in your life has been shaped, and by which every future experience can be shaped differently. Neville Goddard was born in Barbados in 1905, the fourth of 9 children in a prosperous family. As a young man, he traveled to New York to study theater, and it was there that his life took a turn that no stage training could have prepared him for. He came under the influence of a mystical teacher named Abdullah, a man who introduced him to the inner meaning of Scripture and to the deeper laws governing human experience. From that encounter, Neville emerged with a vision that would consume the rest of his life and captivate audiences across America for decades. He lectured prolifically in New York, in Los Angeles, on radio broadcasts, in small rented halls and grand auditoriums. His voice was calm, his manner unhurried, his message singular and uncompromising. He taught that consciousness is the only reality, that the outer world, everything you can see, touch, measure, and prove, is nothing more than a projection of the inner world of feeling and imagination, and that the way to change your life in any area begins not with action but with feeling. Feeling is a Secret was published in 1944, and it remains one of the most concentrated expressions of Neville's teaching. It is a small book, as he himself admits in his foreword, but small as it is, it contains something rare, a clearly defined, practically usable road to the realization of your deepest desires. In this recording, you will hear the full text of this extraordinary work. Every word, every idea, rendered faithfully and in full. There are no shortcuts here, no summaries, no editorial additions. Only Neville's own thought, spoken aloud, offered to you as he offered it to his audiences, with the quiet confidence of a man who has tested what he teaches and found it true. So open your mind, be willing for the duration of this listening to set aside what you think you know about how life works, and let Neville Goddard walk you through the door he has been holding open for 80 years. This feeling is the secret, the law and its operation. Let us begin at the very beginning, because Neville does not waste a moment. He opens his book with a statement so sweeping, so absolute, that it demands you stop and sit with it before moving on. The world, he tells us, and all within it, is man's conditioned consciousness objectified. Read that again slowly. Not some of the world, not the inner world, the subjective world, the emotional world, the world. All of it, everything you see and experience and call reality is, in his view, consciousness made visible. Consciousness is not merely the lens through which you experience reality. It is the substance from which reality is made. If this is true, then the implications are staggering. It means that the key to changing anything in your life is not to change the circumstances themselves. It is not to fight harder, work longer, or persuade others to cooperate with your plans. The key is to change the inner condition, the state of consciousness from which those circumstances are being generated. Every outer change, every improvement, every healing, every windfall, every reconciliation you have ever hoped for, all of it flows from a single source, consciousness. Now, to work intelligently with this law, Neville says we must understand something about the structure of consciousness. He describes it as a stream divided into two parts. The first is the conscious mind, what he calls a personal, selective aspect. This is the part of you that chooses, analyzes, reasons, and decides. The second is the subconscious mind, which is impersonal and non-selective. The subconscious does not reason. It does not judge. It does not weigh evidence or consider probabilities. It simply receives what the conscious mind impresses upon it, and then faithfully, inevitably, brings that impression into form. Neville calls these two aspects the male and the female. The conscious mind is male. It generates ideas. The subconscious mind is female. It receives those ideas and gives them form and expression. Together, in their union, all of creation occurs. This is not metaphor for Neville. He means it precisely. The conscious impresses. The subconscious expresses. And the mechanism of that expression is hidden in the deepest part of the subconscious, working in ways that the rational mind cannot follow or fully trace. But here is where this becomes profoundly practical. If the subconscious is the womb of all creation, the thing that gives form to everything that appears in your world, then the question becomes, what medium does the conscious mind use to reach it? How does an idea get from the thinking, reasoning surface of the mind down into that deep creative place where it can be given form? And Neville's answer is the answer that gives this book its title. Feeling. Feeling is the one and only medium through which ideas are conveyed to the subconscious. Not words, not logic, not willpower, not visualization alone. Feeling, when an idea is felt, when it is not merely thought but experienced as though it were real, it sinks beneath the surface of the rational mind and takes up residence in the subconscious. And once it is lodged there, once it is felt as true, the subconscious has no choice but to express it. No idea can be impressed on the subconscious until it is felt. But once felt, whether it is good or bad, whether it is a wish or fear, whether it is something you want or something you dread, it must be expressed. This is why Neville places such urgency on the discipline of feeling. Not the repression of feeling, not the suppression of your emotional life, but its conscious direction, what you allow yourself to dwell in, what you permit yourself to feel is real, what emotional states you inhabit hour after hour, day after day. These are not just reactions to your life. They are instructions to the subconscious. They are orders that the subconscious will fulfill whether you issue them intentionally or not. And this is the first great responsibility that Neville places before his reader. You are always creating. The subconscious is always receiving impressions and always expressing them. You have no off switch. The question is not whether you are shaping your world through your feeling, but whether you are doing so consciously or unconsciously. The dominant of two feelings, he says, is the one expressed. If you feel both hopeful and fearful about some desire, the stronger of those two feelings wins. If your declared intention is health, but your underlying, more powerfully felt state is illness or limitation, the subconscious will take an instruction from the deeper, more dominant feeling and express that. This is why it does no good to tell yourself, I will be healthy, when what you feel in the marrow of your bones is, I am sick. The subconscious is not listening to your words. It is reading your feeling. And what you feel you are always dominates what you feel you would like to be. To be realized, Neville tells us, the wish must be felt as a state that is, rather than a state that is not. I am, not I will be. I have, not I hope to have. The wish must be felt as already accomplished, already true, already here. Now here is something Neville brings in that many overlook. He points out that emotional disturbances, especially suppressed emotions, are not just psychological problems. They are the causes of disease in both body and environment. To feel intensely about something wrong without voicing or expressing that feeling is the beginning of dis-ease. He uses a hyphen deliberately. Dis-ease, unease, a body and a life out of ease, because the creative mechanism has been loaded with painful, unresolved impressions. Do not entertain the feeling of regret or failure, he says. Do not dwell on the imperfection of yourself or others. To do so is to impress the subconscious with limitations, and the subconscious will faithfully reproduce those limitations in your outer world. And so the whole philosophy comes to rest on one elegant, demanding practice. Discipline your feeling. Choose as often as you can to inhabit the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not because the wish has already appeared in the outer world, but because feeling it as real is the very act of creation. The outer world lags behind the inner world. Signs follow, they do not precede. Proof that you are something will follow the consciousness that you are it. It will not come first. This is a law that Neville places at the foundation of everything. Consciousness is cause. Feeling is the medium. The outer world is effect. Change the feeling. Change the world. Chance and accident, he reminds us, are not responsible for what happens to you. Predestined fate did not write your story. Your subconscious impressions did. And those impressions are shaped by your feeling, which means the pen has always been in your hand. Now take a breath. Let that settle. Because from here, Neville moves to what he considers the two greatest gateways into the subconscious. The two portals through which you can most effectively plant the seed of your desire and ensure its growth. The first is sleep, and the second is prayer. If this book is speaking to you, if these ideas are landing somewhere deep and real, this channel has much more for you. We bring the full text of classic works, like this one to life in audio form, and there's always something new being added. Take a moment right now to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new release. It means the world to this channel, and it ensures these timeless teachings keep reaching the people who need them. Now, let us return to Neville. The gateway of sleep. Neville calls sleep the natural door into the subconscious. And when you understand why, the ordinary act of lying down at night becomes something extraordinary. He begins with a remarkable observation. He says that the conscious 2/3 of our life on earth is measured by the degree of attention we give to that other third. The quality of your waking life, its richness, its abundance, its health, its beauty, all of it is shaped by what passes through you in the hours of sleep. Not what you dream, exactly, but what you carry with you as you cross the threshold into sleep. Because it is in sleep that the conscious and subconscious are most perfectly joined. During the waking hours, the rational mind is busy, guarded, full of second-guessing and analysis and doubt. But as you drift towards sleep, that guard comes down. The conscious mind loosens its grip. And in that moment, whatever you're feeling, whatever state of consciousness you are inhabiting, flows directly and deeply into the subconscious like water soaking into soil. This is why Neville says that the conditions and events of your life are your children. They are formed from the molds of your subconscious impressions in sleep. Night after night, you are planting seeds. The question is, what seeds? Most people go to sleep in whatever state the day has left them. If the day was frustrating, they go to sleep frustrated. If the day was anxious, they carry that anxiety to the threshold. If the day was discouraging, Discouragement is the last impression they offer subconscious before consciousness withdraws. And then they wonder why the next day and the day after that seems to offer more of the same. The subconscious, Neville says, never alters the accepted beliefs of man. It outpictures them to the last detail, whether or not they are beneficial. It is not cruel and it is not kind. It is simply faithful. It reproduces exactly what you have felt. So here's what Neville asks of you. Before you sleep, every night, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not the feeling of wanting it, not the feeling of hoping for it or working toward it, the feeling of already having it, the feeling that would be yours if everything you desire were already true. He gives a beautifully simple instruction. Lie flat on your back. Let your head rest level with your body. Close your eyes. Ask yourself this question. How would I feel right now if my wish were already realized? And then inhabit that feeling. Let it fill you. Let it become the dominant reality of your inner world. And from there, relax gently, easily into sleep. This is the art, not the forcing of emotional state, not the strained effort to believe something you do not believe, but the gentle, practiced assumption of a feeling, a reaching inward for the texture of the fulfilled wish and then resting in it. Neville is specific. Do not take with you into sleep the feeling of seeking the wish. Do not go to sleep with the consciousness of wanting. Go to sleep with the consciousness of having. This is the crucial difference between the person whose desires remain forever just out of reach and the person who seems to draw what they need into their life with surprising regularity. One plants seeds of wanting. The other plants seeds of having. Once asleep, he points out, man has no freedom of choice. The sleeping mind is wholly governed by its last waking concept of self. You cannot correct your direction mid-dream. The impression has already been given. This is why that moment just before sleep is so precious, so powerful, so worth cultivating with care and intention. He draws on the Song of Solomon for one of his most beautiful passages. By night on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loveth. I found him whom my soul loveth. I held him and would not let him go, until I brought him into my mother's house, and into the chamber of her that conceived me. Your realized wish is the one your soul loves, and the chamber of her that conceived you is the subconscious, the creative womb for which your entire life has been given form. Each night, by feeling the wish fulfilled before sleep, you are bringing the beloved into that chamber. You are handing the seed of your desire to the deepest creative force within you, and then releasing it into the darkness, trusting it to grow. Do not sleep feeling discouraged. Do not close your eyes in failure. Your subconscious sees you exactly as you feel yourself to be, and what it sees, it makes. If you lie down feeling like someone whose ship has come in, whose prayer has been answered, whose desire has been met, the subconscious will take that as its blueprint and work through the night to produce a world that corresponds to it. Night after night, Neville counsels, you should feel yourself being, having, and witnessing that which you seek. It is a practice. Like any practice, it develops with repetition. The first few nights you may feel self-conscious about it or doubtful or silly. That is natural, but persist. Let yourself reach for that feeling even briefly, even imperfectly, and then let go into sleep. He ends this chapter with a line that is at once simple and stunning. Sleep is the door into heaven. What you take in as a feeling, you bring out as a condition, action, or object in space. So sleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And now from sleep, Neville turns to its near cousin, the second gateway. the state that the great teachers of all traditions have pointed toward, and that Neville, in his characteristically direct way, reframes and demystifies. He turns to prayer, the art of true prayer. Prayer, Neville tells us, is an illusion of sleep. That is a striking phrase. He does not mean that prayer is illusory or unreal. He means that genuine prayer induces a state that closely resembles the twilight between waking and sleeping. It is a state in which the conscious mind grows quiet, the impressions of the outer world grow dim, and the mind becomes unusually receptive to impressions from within. This is very different from how most people think about prayer. Most of us were taught to think of prayer as speaking to God, as asking for something from a source outside ourselves, as petitioning a higher power and waiting for a response. Neville does not dismiss the divine in this, but he locates it differently. The God to whom you pray, in his framework, is not a figure in the sky who is listening and deciding whether to grant your request. The God to whom you pray is the subconscious itself, the creative power within you, the immense and faithful intelligence that gives form to all that you feel is true. When you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father which is in secret, and your Father which is in secret shall reward you openly. These words, which he draws from the Gospel of Matthew, are for Neville not a description of finding a quiet room. They are a description of entering the inner world, closing the door on the senses and the outer world, and making contact with the creative power within. And what does successful prayer look like? It is not supplication. It is not pleading. It is not even particularly verbal. Successful prayer is the art of assuming the feeling of being and having that which you want. The moment you accept a wish as an accomplished fact, as something already done, the subconscious finds means for its realization. Whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you have received them, and ye shall have them. Neville returns to this passage again and again because it contains what he considers the entire secret of effective prayer in a single sentence. Not believe that you will receive them. Not believe that God may grant them if you are worthy. Believe that you have received them. Past tense. Already done. Already accomplished. This is the consciousness you must inhabit in prayer. Now he addresses a practical difficulty. How do you create this state? How do you shift the mind from its ordinary condition of thinking, worrying, analyzing, and doubting into this receptive, believing, creative state? He offers a method so simple it risks being underestimated. Relax in a comfortable chair or lie flat on your back. Close your eyes and then say to yourself, inwardly, I am sleepy, so very sleepy. Let yourself imagine and feel the sensation of drifting towards sleep. Let the muscles soften. Let the breath slow. Let the mind grow quiet and diffuse. In a little while, something interesting happens. A kind of faraway feeling settles over you, a pleasant heaviness. A loosening of the grip of ordinary waking consciousness. You remain aware. You remain capable of thought and of choice. But the sharp, skeptical, analytical mind softens. And in that softness, the subconscious becomes far more accessible. From this state, imagine that you have realized your wish, not how it came about, not the steps that led to it. Simply the wish fulfilled, the end result, the feeling of already having arrived, and feel it. Let it be real to you in that quiet, receptive space. Neville notes something subtle and beautiful here. In this passive state, thoughts can sometimes be heard as though they were coming from outside yourself. Inner speech becomes audible. And this, he suggests, is one of the ways the subconscious communicates, one of the ways instruction comes. But he is careful to add, this level of depth is not required. All that is necessary is to create the passive state and feel the wish fulfilled. You do not need visions or voices. You need feeling. He also addresses what happens when you cannot seem to yield to the desired feeling, when your senses are screaming that your wish has not been fulfilled, when the evidence of the outer world is actively contradicting the inner state you're trying to assume. The effort to force belief can create exactly the opposite of what you want. Whenever you are in the state of mind, I should like to, but I cannot, the harder you try, the less you are able to yield. This is because you are in conflict. You are trying to feel something while simultaneously feeling its opposite. And in that conflict, feeling always wins. Not your intended feeling, but the dominant feeling, the one that carries more weight, more reality, more emotional substance. The solution, he says, is not more effort. It is less. Prayer must be without effort. Yield to the wish. Do not force it. Create a gentle, receptive state, and then gently reach for the feeling of the wish fulfilled the way you might reach for the edge of a pleasant dream. Softly, without strain, because the subconscious does not respond compulsion. It responds to persuasion. You cannot demand your way into it. You can only invite, suggest, allow, and feel. All you can possibly need or desire is already yours, he says. You need no helper to give it to you. It is yours now. Call your desires into being by imagining and feeling your wish fulfilled. When you emerge from this prayer state, it should feel somewhat like emerging from a film in which you saw the happy ending, but not all the scenes that led there. You know how the story ends. You do not know exactly how it will unfold, but having felt the end, you carry a calm, quiet certainty that it will. And that certainty is itself a form of faith, not the faith of grim determination, the faith of someone who has already seen the outcome and knows it is sure. And from there, Neville moves into what may be the deepest and most personal chapter of this small, luminous book. The spirit of feeling, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. Neville takes this line from the prophet Zechariah and places it at the head of his final chapter, because it contains in 4 words the heart of everything he has been building toward. Not by might, not through strain or force or relentless effort, not by power in a conventional sense of leverage, influence, money, status, or will, but by spirit, by the invisible inner, creative life that animates all things and from which all things come. Get into the spirit of the state desired. He says, by assuming the feeling that would be yours were you already the one you want to be. And as you capture that feeling, you are relieved of all effort to make it so, because it is already so in the inner world, in the world of consciousness where all creation originates. The wish that has been fully felt is already accomplished. The outer world is simply catching up. There is a definite feeling associated with every idea in the mind of man. Every desire, every aspiration, every vision of what your life could be carries with it a corresponding feeling. The successful business carries a feeling of confidence and expansion. The loving relationship carries a feeling of warmth and belonging and security. The healed body carries a feeling of ease and vitality. The creative work, fulfilled, carries a feeling of meaning and flow. These feelings are not rewards given after you achieve your desire. They are the very substance from which the desire is built. Capture the feeling, Neville says, and your wish will objectify itself. The outer form is always a consequence of the inner feeling. He invokes what may be the most fundamental principle in the Christian tradition, faith, and defines it in a way that cuts through centuries of confusion. Faith is feeling. According to your faith, be it unto you. According to your feeling, be it unto you. Your faith is not your intellectual assent to a set of propositions. It is not your willingness to say you believe something. It is the living, felt reality of what you hold in consciousness. You never attract what you want. You always attract what you are. And what you are is defined at every moment by what you feel yourself to be. This is why Neville now makes his most audacious statement, the one that startled his audiences most and continues to startle readers today. Instead of believing in God or in Jesus, believe you are God. Believe you are that creative, consciousness-based, all-generating presence that the great scriptures point toward. He is not suggesting arrogance. He is not inviting delusion or self-worship. He is pointing at something very specific. Jesus, in Neville's reading, was not a unique exception to the human condition, but a demonstration of what the human condition, fully realized, actually looks like. I and my Father are one. The creative power of the universe and the consciousness of the individual are not separate. They are one and the same reality, encountered from within. To believe you are that power is not to puff yourself up. It is to take full responsibility for your creative life. It is to stop waiting for something outside yourself to give you permission to be whole, to be well, to be free, to be loved, to be prosperous. It is to recognize that the capacity to create the conditions of your life resides within you, in your consciousness, in your feeling right now, exactly as you are. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. If man is made in the image of God, and God is pure creative consciousness, then man is also pure creative consciousness, not partially, not in potential, actually, right now. And the way to live from that truth is not to fight your way into it through argument or affirmation. It is to feel your way into it, to inhabit, as fully and as often as possible, the feeling of being the person you want to be, of living the life you want to live, of having what you want to have. Not someday, now, live in the feeling of being the one you want to be, Neville says, and that you shall be. When a man believes in the value of what has been given and applies it, he establishes within himself the reality of success, not the appearance of success, not the promise of success, the reality of it, in the only place where reality is ever first established, within. And so we have traveled to a full arc of what Neville Goddard offers in Feeling is the Secret, from the foundational principle that consciousness is the one and only reality, through the practical mechanics of impression and expression, through the two great gateways of sleep and prayer, to the deepest invitation of all, to recognize yourself as a creative power you have been seeking. Let us hold the whole of it for a moment. Your outer world is a mirror. It reflects, with extraordinary fidelity, the contents of your inner world, specifically the feelings you have impressed upon your subconscious through the sustained moods and emotional states of your daily life. It does not reflect your wishes. It does not reflect your words. It does not reflect your intentions. It reflects your feelings. The subconscious does not judge. It does not prefer one outcome over another. It does not want health for you more than it wants illness, or abundance more than it wants lack. It simply reproduces in the outer world the inner feeling has been given. If you feel like a person who is perpetually struggling, the subconscious will produce a world of struggle. If you feel like a person whose life is abundant and full, the subconscious will produce a world of abundance and fullness. And the most accessible, most reliable, most leverage-rich moment for changing what you give to the subconscious is the moment before sleep. That soft, unguarded threshold between waking and dreaming, where the rational mind loosens its grip and the creative depths open. Every night, you have an appointment there. And every night, what you bring to that appointment shapes tomorrow. Bring the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Bring the feeling of someone who is well, who is loved, who is safe, who is thriving, who is living the life they were meant for. Bring it not as a desperate hope, but as a quiet, deeply felt reality. Hold it as long as you can, gently and without strain, and then let it go into sleep, into the darkness, into the faithful, impersonal, all-generating womb of the subconscious. And during your waking hours, when you turn to prayer, remember what true prayer is. It is not asking. It is assuming. It is creating, through relaxed, focused feeling, the inner experience of the wish already granted, and offering that experience to the creative power within you. This is Neville Goddard's gift to us. A road, a precise, personal, immediately usable road from where you are to where you wish to be, not through lucky breaks or favorable circumstances or the intervention of anything outside yourself, through the disciplined, compassionate, faithful use of the one creative power you have always had. Your feeling. Change the feeling. Change the world. These ideas have endured for 80 years because they work, not because they are comfortable or convenient, because sometimes they are neither, but because they are true. And the person who puts them to the test, who actually takes Neville at his word for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and practices the art of feeling the wish fulfilled at the threshold of sleep, night after night, that person does not need to be convinced by any book or any lecture. Personal success will prove far more convincing than all the books that could be written on the subject. May you carry this truth with you tonight. May you lie down in the feeling of the wish already granted. May you bring into the chamber of your deeper self only that which you wish to see made manifest. And may tomorrow find you a little closer to the life your consciousness, at its fullest, already knows is possible. This has been Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. Thank you for listening. If this recording has moved you, stirred something, or given you something you've been looking for, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and to share this recording with someone who might need it. New audiobooks and narrations from the New Thought and Personal Development tradition are added regularly, and your support makes it possible to keep bringing these extraordinary works to life in full. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell, and we will see you in the next recording. Until then, be well and feel it first.